Unexpected encounter. Single dad's amazing act of kindness revealed a life-changing truth. Jake wiped the sweat from his brow as he leaned under the hood of the car. "Another day, another problem," he muttered, a hint of irony creeping into his voice. Working as a mechanic had always kept him grounded, but this was different. Struggling to make ends meet after losing his second job, the weight of uncertainty pressed heavily on his shoulders. His 10-year-old daughter, Lily, was at home, blissfully unaware of the financial storm brewing. He desperately wanted to shield her from this reality, the fear that crept in each time he opened a new bill. He looked over at the scruffy old sedan belonging to Mrs. Thompson, his elderly neighbor, who was waving her hands in frustration. Just last week, she'd confided in him about her husband's passing and the financial strain that followed. "Just another problem, like mine," she'd said with an air of defeat. Maybe it was guilt, maybe it was helplessness, but Jake couldn't ignore her plight. "I can do this," he thought, tightening his grip on the wrench. It was a distraction, but one that pulled him into a conflict he hadn't anticipated. "Let me give you a hand, Mrs. Thompson," he called, forcing a smile that felt heavy on his face. As they worked side by side, he found himself drawn into her stories, the vibrant past of their small town, and learned moments he'd never shared with his father, the old mechanic who taught him everything he knew. Those memories flooded back, a time when his father's laughter echoed in the garage, a simpler life before bills loomed like storms on the horizon. "Did you know your dad was part of something special here?" she said, her eyes twinkling as she recounted tales of community and resilience. But then, as if the light dimmed, she spoke of the old family business his father co-owned, a venture that had crumbled under financial pressure. "I always admired your father, Jake," she added, her voice wavering. "He had dreams, and I know he wanted to leave something behind." Jake's heart thudded in his chest. It was a revelation that squeezed his throat and twisted his gut with fear. An inheritance, something that could change everything, lay entangled with those memories. But the tension swelled in his chest, battling between his father's dreams and the life he fought so hard to establish for Lily. The thought of taking the risk to revive the family legacy threatened the stable life they had built together, the simple moments filled with laughter, scraped knees, and homemade dinners. His hands trembled momentarily as he paused, looking at the tangle of wires before him. What did true wealth mean? The memories of his father scraped against the urgency of the looming corporate takeover, threatening what was left of that legacy. "I can't jeopardize Lily's future," he thought, the racing in his mind intensifying as the dilemma consumed him. Just when he thought he must find clarity, a harsh wave of panic washed over him. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Jake locked eyes with Mrs. Thompson, her expression revealing gratitude laced with expectation. The air grew thick with tension as he battled his thoughts, grappling with the echoes of his father's ideals that seemed to implore him to seize the opportunity. A fight to reclaim what had been lost loomed tantalizingly close, yet the sacrifice felt too great. As the afternoon sun dipped low, throwing shadows across the driveway, an unsettling chill settled in Jake's bones. He was at a crossroads, the echoes of his father's dreams merging with the sound of his daughter's laughter in his head, leaving him torn and wide open to the ache that came from the promise of a better future, if he was brave enough to fight for it. Would he dare confront the giants threatening his father's legacy while ensuring a safe place for Lily? The next morning, Jake awoke with a sense of unease lingering in his chest. The shadows of doubt cast the day before had not lifted. He turned to look at Lily, still sound asleep with her favorite stuffed bunny clutched tightly in her arms, a reminder of innocence caught in the turmoil of his thoughts. "I can't let her down," he whispered, a quiet vow that sent a jolt of determination sparking through him. What if that small family business could restore his father's dreams while providing for his future? He shook off the remnants of sleep and made a mental checklist. He needed to gather more information about the family business, if it still existed at all. As he poured himself a cup of coffee, he mentally prepared for the inquiries ahead, wondering who in town might still recall the faded memories associated with the old shop. Jake understood the risks he was contemplating. It wasn't merely nostalgia, it was a chance to forge a path back to a life entwined with legacy and ambition. His first destination was the town library. He had spent countless afternoons in those stacks, flipping through dusty pages about mechanics, cars, and the history of the neighborhood. The familiar smell of aged paper filled his nostrils as he stepped through the door. Behind the counter, Miss Carter recognized him instantly. "Jake, it's good to see you here. It's been a while," she said, adjusting her glasses. "Thanks, Miss Carter. Do you have any old archives about Thompson & Sons?" he asked, bracing himself for a wave of memories. "Oh, of course. That was quite the shop in its time," she replied, leading him to a dusty corner filled with newspapers and yellowed photographs. "Your father, he had quite the reputation." As she spoke, Jake felt a warmth envelop him, a spark of pride he hadn't expected. The stories unfurling from Miss Carter's lips painted a picture of a thriving business, a place where camaraderie wasn't just an afterthought. They were tales of hard work, loyalty, and community, things Jake realized he longed for without fully understanding. "Here, this is a photo of your dad from the grand opening," she said, handing him a brittle newspaper clipping. Jake stared at his father's young face, full of life, surrounded by joy and hope. It was a moment frozen in time, and Jake felt something awaken within him. The drive to step out from under his father's shadow and create his own legacy. Back home, with the fading sunlight pouring in through the kitchen window, Jake spread out the archives on the table. As he flipped through the old photographs and articles, a document fell out, an advertisement with his father's name and signature at the bottom. The words "Family Legacy Project" were printed at the top, along with a date next month. He felt a pulse of excitement. Perhaps this was the key to revitalizing that venture, a way to harness his father's dream while establishing a future for Lily. But realization struck hard. This project would require funds, investment, a gamble he wasn't sure he could afford. "Where will I get the money?" he murmured, flicking through his mental bank of options. There were loans. Perhaps he could tap into some savings. Yet the precarious nature of borrowing against his future sent a shiver down his spine. It felt like playing a high-stakes game with no guarantees. Sitting in silence, staring at those fading memories would have been enough to paralyze him with fear. But deep down, a flicker of something else emerged, a resolve that had been dormant, waiting for this moment. He envisioned the conversation he would need to have with Lily when it was time to share his ambitions. What if living up to his father's legacy meant risking everything he held dear? Tomorrow would be a day for planning, a day for facing the uncertainty head-on. And as he gazed at the image of his father, he decided that embarking on this journey was a risk worth taking. The legacy wouldn't reclaim itself, after all. But the question echoed in his mind, a reminder of the stakes. Was he truly ready to fight for a dream that could reshape their lives? The moment of truth loomed just around the corner. The next morning, Jake awoke with a newfound sense of urgency vibrating in his chest. He dressed quickly and prepared an impulsive breakfast for both himself and Lily, opting for pancakes with syrup, like they used to enjoy on Saturdays. As he flipped the final pancake, he paused to consider the enormity of his intentions. The family legacy project loomed large in his mind, an unwieldy investment that had shifted from an abstract idea to a palpable, breathing entity he was determined to nurture. After breakfast, he made a call to the local bank, meticulously rehearsing his pitch in his head. The words came out awkwardly, stumbling while he explained his vision. When the voice on the other end offered an appointment later that day, a surge of fear jolted through him. He hadn't anticipated that mere inquiry could come so quickly. The stakes had just risen. Jake took a moment to breathe, reclaiming his focus. It was time to break this cycle of doubt. He shifted his attention to Lily, who sat swinging her legs, eyes sparkling with anticipation for their day ahead. "We're going to go on a little adventure today," he said, a smile breaking across his face despite the turmoil brewing within. Her laughter filled the space, temporarily silencing his internal fears. As they ventured out, they stopped by the park, and that familiar sense of nostalgia washed over him, flashes of his own childhood mingling with the present. Seeing Lily play, the sun illuminating her carefree joy, ignited something profound. Here was his purpose. She was his anchor, a living embodiment of hope. The thought both terrified and invigorated him. After their playtime, they headed to the bank. Standing outside, Jake's heart raced, each pulse echoing a doubt that whispered unswervingly, "What if I fail?" But he had come too far to retreat now. He squared his shoulders and opened the door, holding on to the thought of Lily's dreams entwined with his own. Inside, he approached the teller, then waited nervously for his meeting with the bank manager. He paced uncertainly, notes in hand, rehearsing mentally. This is a legacy project. This isn't just about money, it's about family. Finally, he was ushered into the manager's office. The walls were lined with framed certificates, and the scent of fresh coffee hung in the air. Jake sat across from a woman with a keen gaze. Her questions were precise and demanding. As he described his father's legacy, the shop's memories, and the dreams threaded through their past, Jake found himself gaining momentum, the nerve tightening in his chest slowly unraveling as he found strength in his narrative. "What sort of support do you need?" she asked, and he could hear the skepticism reverberating in her tone. "I need a loan to revive Thompson & Sons. It's more than just a business. It's a commitment to my father's dreams and my daughter's future," he declared, voice steadying as he spoke. The stakes were becoming clearer. Every word he uttered was a step toward his own reclamation, an unearthing of confidence he hadn't known he possessed. The bank manager leaned back, considering his words. "Reviving a legacy is no small feat," she remarked thoughtfully. "You'd need a thorough plan to assure us there's potential for a return." With that statement, Jake knew what was necessary. It wasn't just about asking for help. It was time to prove his determination through actionable strategy. He would return, prepared, armed with a business plan that would not only seek their approval, but transform his dreams into a firm reality. After the meeting, as he drove home, he pondered deeply. Jake needed to immerse himself in every detail of his father's past, every opportunity and challenge that had shaped Thompson & Sons. But latent anxiety clawed at him. What if he dug too deeply, unearthing conflicts long buried? That night, he sat hunched over his desk, the flickering light reflecting off the stacks of papers. Jake resolved to write down his plans, breaking them into manageable parts, a strategy emerging from chaos. Yet, in the quiet of the night, doubt seeped in once more. Who was he to claim a legacy worth reclaiming? The question wrapped around him like a vice, squeezing tighter as he contemplated his worthiness. Wasn't he merely a shadow of a man? Tomorrow would have to bring clarity, a way to confront not just the project, but also the shadows of self-doubt that dogged his steps. The echoes of that question loomed large, threatening to overshadow his aspirations. Would he ever measure up to the dream? Determined to face that fear head-on, Jake clung to the flicker of hope within. He would no longer be a passive observer in this narrative. It was time to be the protagonist. Yet, as the night wrapped its arms around him, he couldn't help but wonder. The true battle lay ahead, one he needed to prepare for. The moment of reckoning was coming, and it would demand everything he had. Would he be able to confront the truths he might discover along the way? Or would the journey uncover parts of himself he wasn't ready to face? As dawn broke, the light streamed through the window in a cascade of gold, bathing Jake's desk in its warmth. He sat in the same spot where he had toiled the night before, surrounded by an increasingly chaotic array of papers. The remnants of last night's doubts plagued him, each question echoing louder than before. Who was he really, and what did he actually stand to gain from all this? But he refused to let uncertainty overshadow the purpose he had barely begun to grasp. Jake spent the morning researching, poring over the history of Thompson & Sons. With each detail he uncovered, threads of inspiration began to weave an outline for his business plan. The old photographs of his father smiling with customers painted a picture of not just a legacy, but a community built on trust and connection. It reminded Jake that reviving the family shop wasn't merely about profitability. It was imbued with the essence of relationships he longed to rekindle. Seated with Lily at the kitchen table, the cheerful hum of her recounting their park adventure?
A soothing backdrop. Her innocent queries about his plans were poignant reminders of his dual purpose. "Daddy, can you make it even better than it was before?" she asked, wide-eyed and hopeful. Jake paused, contemplating her question. Could he pull off such a feat? "I will try my very best, Lily," he replied, fortified by the resolute look in her eyes. This was the moment where he could transform latent fears into a burning purpose. After breakfast, he took her along to run errands, each task a small victory that tethered him to normalcy while he wrestled with the enormity of his mission. He made his way to the town library, seeking knowledge that could bolster his plan. Surrounded by the musty scent of old pages, he pieced together insights about market trends and potential competitors. Jake even scribbled notes on innovative approaches that could breathe new life into the old shop. Hours passed in a blur. Time seemed to escape him as the excitement of discovery crackled through his fingertips. Just as he thought the day would end on a quiet note, he ran into Mrs. Davis, the former owner of the flower shop next door. She had always exuded warmth, her garden abundant with vibrant blooms bustling with bees. Sensing his frantic energy, she paused, her brow furrowed with concern. "What's troubling you, Jake?" she asked, her voice gentler than the spring air. The question spoke directly to his heart, and for a moment Jake considered his options. Would he confide in her, relinquishing the tight grip on his insecurities? He took a deep breath, the weight of vulnerability looming. "I'm trying to revive Thompson & Sons," he admitted, his words tumbling out faster than expected. "I think it's about more than just a business. I think it's about reconnecting with who I am, with my dad's legacy." Mrs. Davis's eyes brightened with understanding. "Revival isn't always easy, but it can be a powerful journey. Your father would be proud." Her words ignited a flicker of courage within him. Encouraged by the gentle push, he shared bits of his plan, her nodding enthusiasm propelling him forward. As they discussed his ideas, Jake felt his fears start to unravel, replaced by a growing sense of community and purpose. By the time he said goodbye, Jake was buzzing with clarity. He left with a pocketful of suggestions that could reshape his vision. As he walked back home with Lily, the air felt different, charged with potential. But the storm of doubts was far from quelled. That evening, while reviewing his findings, one thought slipped through the cracks of his newfound determination. Could he really reconcile the ghost of his father's expectations with his own vision? The burden of legacy pressed heavily on his shoulders, and just as he thought he could shake it off, the question returned. What would happen if he wasn't enough? He needed answers, and the impact of facing those phantom doubts was looming closer than ever. Jake couldn't shake the feeling that, while his plans started to take shape, the greater battle lay not within the realm of business, but within the confines of his own mind. Would uncovering the truth of his father's journey fortify him, or would it fracture his resolve even further? The exploration of a legacy, fraught with history, demanded everything. He sensed that challenging ghosts from the past might be the hardest part of this endeavor. The moment of revelation was fast approaching, but the outcome was uncertain. Jake felt the urgency pulse within him. He needed to pivot toward authenticity before the weight of expectation became unbearable. What awaited him in that pursuit of truth could either redefine his path or leave him questioning everything he once believed. The next morning, Jake awoke with a determination that felt sharper than the dawn light piercing his curtains. He had carved out a mental map of what he needed to confront, the journey to self-acceptance entwined with the revival of Thompson & Sons. As he prepared for his day, he couldn't shake the thought that unearthing his father's legacy might illuminate his own path. After dropping Lily off at school, Jake returned to the shop he had inherited, the wooden floors creaking underfoot, echoing memories of his father's laughter and advice. Each stroke of dust he swept away felt like brushing aside layers of uncertainty. He pulled a notebook from his bag, a collection of thoughts and actionable insights that had grown since his conversations with Mrs. Davis. There was an urgency to his mission today. Not only did he need to draft a coherent business plan, but he also sought to embrace the familial connection that drove him. He recalled all the small, personal touches his father had added to the shop. The handwritten notes to customers, the local sourcing of products, the open-door policy. Could bringing back those traditions create a bridge to the community? With his mind racing, he made a list of tasks. First, he wanted to reconnect with old customers. The thought of facing them was like standing at the edge of a cliff, heart pounding with anticipation. Would they remember him? Would their expectations weigh him down or spark excitement? He clenched his jaw tightly and chose to believe in the latter. Jake spent the morning drafting messages to former patrons, sharing his vision for the shop's revival and inviting them to a community gathering. Crafting each email was oddly cathartic. Each word stitched together the motive behind his actions with the legacy of his father. As he pressed send for the last time, a breath he didn't realize he was holding escaped his lips, accompanied by a flicker of realization. He was taking control of his destiny. As the afternoon sun cast long shadows, Jake began setting up the shop, cleaning surfaces, rearranging merchandise, an act of reclaiming both space and identity. Yet the weight of doubt lingered like a cloud. What if his desires clashed with the expectations of those who
Had known his father? Were his innovations enough to honor the past while making a mark of his own? Just as he was about to sink into another round of anxious thoughts, the bell over the door jingled. A familiar face stepped inside, Mr. Thompson, an old customer. As their eyes met, the flicker of recognition ignited in Mr. Thompson's expression, which quickly turned into concern. "Jake, is that you?" he asked, stepping forward. "You look a bit different. I've missed the good old days here." Jake felt a rush of memories bubble to the surface. The man had been a constant, sharing laughter and stories with his father. "I'm trying to bring things back, Mr. Thompson. I'm working on a plan to revitalize the shop," Jake explained, the words pouring out before anxiety could hold him back. Mr. Thompson's frown deepened. "That's commendable, but are you prepared for the weight of his legacy? People remember him fondly. You'll have your work cut out." The words struck deep, echoing back to Jake's fears. "I want to. No, I need to make it my own too," he replied, the fire in him flaring, emboldened by the confrontation. "I can honor the past and build my vision, but if I can't do this, then what's the point?" Mr. Thompson squinted, studying Jake with an intensity that felt unnerving. "Figuring out your vision means digging deep, doesn't it? Face the truths that lie ahead of you, not just the ones you want to see." In that moment, Jake felt a shiver race down his spine. The connection between confronting his doubts and embracing his father's shadow became glaringly clear. Unraveling the depths of his father's world meant delving into the very heart of who he was becoming. With a nod of appreciation, Mr. Thompson departed, leaving Jake standing amidst the fresh displays he had created, a rush of commitment galloping through him. He would share stories of his father and weave them into his future. But that required more than a plan. It necessitated confronting the man behind the legacy directly. What awaited him in his father's past?
subtly hidden beneath old floorboards and forgotten boxes, could reveal insights or open wounds he wasn't prepared to face. It was a journey into authenticity, but Jake could feel a storm brewing on the horizon, one that could either fuel his fire or extinguish it altogether. Determined yet troubled, he turned to the back room. The exploration of his father's story awaited him. Would it kindle the flame of inspiration or lead him to an uncomfortable truth? As Jake stepped into the dimly lit back room of Thompson & Sons, he was enveloped by the scent of aged wood and the remnants of dust that had settled over the years. Each breath was heavy with untold stories, beckoning him with a mix of curiosity and dread. He scanned the space, filled with old boxes, some labeled in faded ink, while others bore no markings at all. This was the treasure
Trove of his father's legacy, yet it felt like an uncharted territory for Jake. He hesitated, gripping the edge of the doorway as self-doubt flickered again. What if he uncovered something that shattered the image of the man he had idolized? The tension gripped him, but he felt the determination from earlier seep back into him. He wouldn't know his own capabilities until he dared to uncover the truth hidden in those boxes. Finding a sturdy cardboard box, Jake knelt to peel it open. Inside was an assortment of old receipts, tattered photographs, and handwritten notes. As he sifted through, each item sparked fragmented images of his father's past. A younger version of his dad, proudly holding the first sign of Thompson & Sons, customers in his shop grinning widely. One document caught his eye. It was a handwritten letter addressed to a customer, thanking them for their loyalty and promising to maintain the quality of service they had come to expect. Jake felt a wave of longing wash over him. It was a simple act of gratitude that spoke volumes about his father's character. It made Jake wonder if such kindness might be a cornerstone of his own philosophy as he navigated his future. Among the notes were snippets that hinted at a philosophy. His father wrote about resilience, community, and the importance of relationships. There it was again, the link between honoring the past and evolving into something new. Inspiration surged through Jake as the words shifted something within him. His father had built more than just a business. He had built a legacy of integrity and kindness. Yet amidst the warmth of these revelations lurked questions that ran deeper. Had his father ever struggled with feeling overshadowed by his own successes? Did he ever feel the burden of expectations from the community? Jake needed to know if, like him, they had faced similar uncertainties. As he continued digging, he found an old journal, its cover cracked with age. This could contain the most intimate reflections, thoughts not shared with anyone else. Was he brave enough to open it? Anxiety twisted in his stomach, yet another part of him felt an urgent push to uncover every truth. He opened it gingerly, revealing pages filled with his father's concise handwriting. The entries covered everything from daily business challenges to reflections on life lessons learned through hardship. A specific passage snapped Jake's attention. It spoke of the importance of embracing vulnerabilities, stating, "Only when you lay bare your fears can you find the strength to rise above them." Jake closed his eyes momentarily, feeling the weight of his father's wisdom pressing heavily on his chest. This wasn't just a revelation, it was an unexpected challenge. If he truly wanted to revive the family business, it would require acknowledging his own vulnerabilities as well. How could he face his fears out of the shadows of his father's legacy and truly claim it as his own? The storm within him intensified, boiling down. He could not create his vision without confronting the ghosts of the past, including his relationship with the man he once idolized. With the journal clutched tightly in his hand, Jake stood up, sweat beading on his forehead. He felt the urge to step back into the shop, where vibrant hope mingled with the anxiety of facing old connections. This newfound purpose surged through him. He would intertwine his father's legacy with his own authentic self, but the path forward was not free from risk. As he exited the back room, Jake sensed the significance of the decisions that lay ahead, each step requiring him to confront further truths. The echoes of his father's advice and the community's expectations loomed closer than ever.
The revival of Thompson & Sons was no longer just about the shop. It was about grappling with who he was and who he aspired to become. Re-entering the front of the shop, he noticed a glimmer of movement outside the window. A new face lingered at the entrance, a stranger peering in with curiosity. What they were about to say could pivot the course of his journey. As familiar as the call of the past was, it would be the unexpected encounters from the present that would push him further into uncharted territory. Jake stepped into the vibrant chaos of the shop. The sunlight flickered through the window, illuminating the dust motes that danced in the air. The unfamiliar face at the entrance, a young woman with an earnest expression, struck him as a sign, an invitation to embrace the uncertainty he had long feared. He hesitated only for a moment before walking toward her, fueled by a mixture of curiosity and a surge of vulnerability. "Hi there, welcome to Thompson & Sons," he called out, trying to infuse warmth into his greeting. The woman met his gaze, her eyes wide with intrigue. "I've heard a lot about this place, but I've never had the chance to stop by. I saw it from across the street. It's so nostalgic." Her words took hold of him, stirring memories of his father's pride and the legacy built within these walls. Nostalgia could be both a comfort and a burden, a reminder of what once was, intertwined with the anxiety of what might be. "Yeah, it has its history," he replied, a faint smile breaking through the tension. "What's your name?" she asked. "Jake. And you?" "Emily. I'm new in town, just trying to get to know the local scene." She glanced around the shop, her interest piqued by the array of eclectic items scattered about. "What's your story?" Her question felt sudden, yet it resonated deeply, as if she were peeling back layers of his guarded exterior. Could he articulate the jumble of feelings swirling inside him? He hesitated, weighing the risk of disclosure against the yearning for connection. "I'm trying to figure things out, honestly," he admitted, feeling a rush of vulnerability wash over him. "I took over this place after my father passed away. It's a lot sometimes." Emily's expression softened. "That must be tough. I can't imagine carrying that weight while trying to establish your own identity." Jake smirked, surprised by her insight. "Yeah, it's a balance between honoring his legacy and forging my own path. I found some of his old journals recently. They're filled with advice and thoughts that make me question my own decisions." "Like what?" Emily's curiosity was palpable, drawing him in. "A lot about embracing vulnerabilities and how those experiences shape you," he said, his fingers subconsciously tracing the edge of the journal tucked under his arm. "He wrote about laying bare your fears to find strength. It's a challenge I'm still struggling with." She nodded, her eyes locked onto his. "That sounds like the starting point for a breakthrough. A lot of us run from our fears instead of confronting them. It's easier, right? But what if facing them could lead to something greater?" A spark ignited within Jake. Emily's words reverberated with the wisdom he had uncovered in his father's writings, igniting a flame of determination. She was right. This confrontation wasn't solely about the shop or the legacy. It was an awakening to what could emerge from vulnerability. "So, what are you hoping to accomplish here?" she asked, unflinching. Jake took a deep breath, his resolve lifting him up, as if he were shedding the weight that had saturated his heart. "I want to make this place flourish again, and not just as it was. I want to infuse it with who I am, what I believe in." He could feel the rightness of his ambitions solidify within him. His identity didn't need to be defined solely by the past, but by how he chose to weave that history into the fabric of his future. Yet, the conversation brought with it another reality. He would have to step beyond his comfort zone, transforming aspirations into executable plans. "Maybe we can help each other," Emily said, her smile encouraging. "I've got a background in marketing and a passion for small businesses. I'd love to brainstorm ideas with you." Jake stared at her, a mixture of surprise and hope surging through him. This unexpected encounter embodied the kind of support he had feared might be lacking. "Really?" The question tumbled out, and he felt a jolt of excitement. "Of course.
I believe in the potential of local businesses. We can work together to create something meaningful. But first, you'll need to dig deeper into your own vision." A new challenge unfurled itself in front of him, layered with both promise and uncertainty. He felt the urge to share his deeper fears, the ones that hummed under the surface. But beneath that trepidation, an infusion of resolve coursed through him. This could be a turning point, an opportunity to blend his past and present into a bold future. As they began mapping out ideas, Jake realized that the journey ahead would demand not only strategic thinking, but a courageous authenticity, one that required unearthing what lay dormant within him. For the first time, he felt the truest test of his ambitions approaching, facing not just the business itself, but the insecurities woven into his identity. Outside, a storm brewed on the horizon, casting long shadows over the storefront. Jake's heart raced, the stakes mounting as the first raindrops began to fall. Confronting his past was one thing, but would he truly have the strength to step into the turbulent unknown and fully claim his future? The rain pattered gently against the storefront, a rhythmic reminder of the storm that mirrored Jake's internal turbulence. Jake spread out sheets of paper on a battered wooden table, scattered with sketches and ideas inspired by Emily's marketing acumen. Each concept pushed him closer to articulating not just a plan for Thompson & Sons, but also a deeper understanding of himself. He looked up at Emily, who was intently focused on her notes. "You know," he said, breaking the silence, "I never thought I could feel this passionate about the shop again." Emily glanced up, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "That's what happens when you dig deep. The past can be a powerful source of inspiration. It's just about how you choose to channel it." Her insight encouraged him. It resonated with the sentiments his father had penned in his journals. Yet, as energized as he felt, an underlying current of fear tugged at him. The fear that, despite his ambition, he might still fall short. Would his efforts truly reflect who he was, or would they be an echo of his father's legacy, a shadow that perpetually lingered? "Have you always wanted to work with small businesses?" Jake asked, trying to sidestep the turmoil swirling within him. Emily paused, her pen hovering over the paper. "Not really. I studied marketing because I wanted to carve out a conventional path. But working with local businesses feels different. It's personal. It's about building relationships," she said, giving him a knowing smile. "Sometimes the best moves require risks." He watched her, intrigued. She seemed comfortable with vulnerability, whereas he often felt paralyzed by it. But wasn't he stepping out of his comfort zone now, daring to embrace a partnership that could redefine his future? "Tell me," he said slowly, "do you ever fear failing?" Emily's expression shifted, revealing a moment of honesty. "Absolutely, but I've learned to see it as a part of growth. Failure can teach you more than success ever will if you let it." Each word weighed heavily on him. In that moment, Jake recognized the wall he had built around himself, a wall fortified by fear and shaped by the assumption that seeking help would expose inadequacies. Yet here was Emily, embodying the very authenticity he wished to embrace. "Maybe that's what I've been missing, allowing myself to be vulnerable enough to fail," he confessed. "I've spent so much time trying to live up to my father's expectations that I've neglected my own." Emily's brows furrowed in understanding. "It's a common trap. Finding your own voice doesn't mean that you erase the past. It means you create something new with it." As rain cascaded down the window, Jake felt a flash of clarity. Emily's words ignited a spark, challenging him to examine the courage hidden beneath layers of doubt. What if he began to blend that strength with the legacy he revered, shaping a unique identity that honored both aspects? "Let's explore ideas that truly reflect who I am," he said decisively. "Something that's not just about keeping the shop alive, but making it thrive as a part of this community in a way that aligns with my vision." Encouraged by a new sense of purpose, he grabbed a fresh sheet of paper and began to sketch out concepts that felt authentic. The storm outside might have been wild, but inside, clarity began to take form, pushing him to move past the legacy and own his journey wholeheartedly. Yet, as the sketches piled up, a gnawing realization crept in. Proposing ideas was one thing, but execution demanded a different kind of bravery. Would he be able to follow through when it became challenging? The distinct sound of thunder rumbled, resonating within him, a reminder of the turbulent path ahead. Just then, the door opened and a chill gust swept in, carrying with it a familiar scent of damp earth and unpredictability. Jake's heart raced anew. The storm outside was merely the beginning. What awaited them inside the shop, challenges yet undefined, would require every ounce of courage he had just unearthed. Could he face those forthcoming obstacles, and would he hold fast to the conviction that he was capable of redefining both his destiny and his father's legacy? The answer hung in the air, waiting to be confronted. As the door swung shut, Jake's heart hammered in his chest, an echo of the thunder rumbling outside. The flickering overhead light cast shadows across the table strewn with his sketches, each mark a tangible manifestation of a burgeoning resolve that felt precarious amidst the chaos. "Who?" he began, turning to see a figure shake off the rain-soaked jacket. The unmistakable outline of his estranged brother, Adam, emerged from the gloom. Unease prickled under Jake's skin. It had been years since they'd last spoken, and this unexpected visit was heavy with the weight of unspoken words and unresolved tension. "Jake," Adam said, his voice a hesitant break in the silence, "I thought I might find you here." In that instant, the shop transformed from a sanctuary of creative exploration into a battleground of emotions. Jake opened his mouth to respond, but the years of silence had left him unprepared. This wasn't just a family reunion. It felt like a collision course of conflicting expectations. "Why are you here?" Jake asked, trying to maintain a steadiness he didn't feel. The fear of letting past grievances coiled tightly within him.
"I heard
about what you're trying to do with the shop, rebranding it. Mom mentioned it." Adam's gaze flickered past Jake, landlocked in the multitude of sketches, all screaming of his brother's ambitions. "I wanted to see for myself." Jake scrutinized Adam. The years had changed them both. The carefree boyhood days had faded, replaced by the weight of adult responsibilities. "And what do you think? That you can just drop in and support me now? Where were you when I needed someone to be there?" The outrage felt explosive, but it revealed a deeper longing for connection. For so long, Jake had felt like a lone soldier in a battle he never asked for. A flash of regret swirled within. The moments he had blamed Adam for their fragmented relationship suddenly felt juvenile. Yet the wounds ran deeper, laced with the realization that both brothers had been grappling with their own shadows. "I know I haven't been around," Adam replied, his voice now a steadier cadence, "but I want to help. I've been working on my own projects, and I've learned a lot about running a business. I want to bring that knowledge to Thompson & Sons." The sincerity in Adam's eyes caught Jake off guard. Was it possible that Adam's intentions stemmed from genuine concern rather than obligation? The flicker of hope battled against his instinct to push him away. His mind raced through the implications. Could they work together despite their estrangement? Or was this a fuel for further discord? "What do you really want, Adam?" Jake confronted, but beneath his bravado, doubt simmered. "I want to be a part of your life again. I don't expect everything to go back to normal overnight, but I see how passionate you are about this shop, and I want to support that." The admission hung weighty in the air, creating a pause before the storm. Jake felt a twinge of disappointment as he considered the sacrifices he had made alone. The prospect of collaboration conjured fear within him. What if it ended in resentment? Yet there was also something undeniably enticing, an opportunity for growth they hadn't shared in years. "But how can I trust you?" Jake's voice softened, almost vulnerable, betraying the tension he thought he needed to uphold. Adam took a step closer, his expression earnest. "Give me a chance to prove myself. Let's work on this together. We owe it to ourselves and to Dad." Jake swallowed hard, grappling with conflicting emotions. The notion of merging their paths was terrifying, yet beneath the apprehension lay an undeniable pull towards familiar bonds that begged for redemption. As another crack of thunder sounded, the air felt charged, pregnant with possibilities and uncertainty. "Okay," Jake conceded. Words escaped mixed with a flicker of hope and trepidation. "Let's start with the ideas I've been working on." In that moment, Jake realized he was embarking on uncharted territory, not just with the shop, but with Adam. The shadows of the past loomed large. But now, Jake sensed the potential for forging a new future, if only he could navigate the labyrinth of risks still ahead. Together, they would face outdated patterns, rebuilding not just a business, but a relationship fractured by time. Just then, a flash of lightning illuminated the shop windows, showcasing the untamed elements outside. The storm was far from over. As the first collaborative notes filled the air, Jake couldn't ignore the nagging question: would they emerge stronger, or would history simply repeat itself? Jake stood amidst the palpable tension of the quiet shop. The rain poured outside, its rhythmic dance matching the beat of his racing heart. Standing next to him was Adam, once a frail connection from his past, now transformed into a potential partner in rebuilding both the family legacy and their relationship. "Let's get started," Jake said, adjusting the determination in his voice. Emotions swirled like the wind pummeling the windows, challenging him to embrace the chaos rather than shy away from it. They began to merge their ideas, drafting plans for community events to reinvigorate Thompson & Sons while celebrating their father's legacy. Each word written down fused their aspirations, drawing them closer to shared goals. With a newfound clarity, Jake recognized the dual purpose behind their efforts. It was about more than just reviving a business. They were reclaiming lost moments between brothers, building a bond anew with every sketch and strategy. "How about a grandfather workshop for kids? We could teach them the basics of mechanics," Jake suggested, a spark igniting as he relayed memories of their father sharing his wisdom. Adam nodded, catching the fervor in Jake's tone. "Absolutely, we could reach out to local schools, me and you, teaching them the value of working with their hands, just like Dad would have wanted." Their ideas flowed, intertwining the essence of their shared past with an exuberant vision for the future. Go-kart building contests, community repairs, customer loyalty evenings, each proposal broadened their connection, rekindling the joy that once thrived in the shop. What started as an uncertain venture now brimmed with the promise of renewal and the looming sense of something integral being restored within them. As the rain began to relent, Jake felt his apprehensions start to wash away. They traded an afternoon filled with enthusiasm and brainstorming, culminating in a detailed action plan, embracing not just the mechanics of business, but the heart that defined it. Each shared laugh, each anecdote about their father, layered deeper sentiments of hope. But the journey ahead would not be free of challenges. As the sun dipped beneath the clouds, casting a golden hue over a clearing sky, the brothers faced the looming task of unveiling the plans before the community, the very people who had once shaped their father's dream. Would they embrace the revival, or would the past's expectations weigh down their efforts? "I'm nervous," Jake admitted, leaning against the workbench, his eyes filled with both excitement and fear. "What if they only remember the old shop and not the direction we want to take?" Adam placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We aren't our father. We're building our own path, but we need to honor what he created too. It's time for us to make it our own." Jake breathed deeply, feeling the potential encapsulated within that moment. Together, they were no longer prisoners of the past. They were evolving. The next day arrived, drenched in anticipation. The grand reopening was plastered across town boards, and the nostalgic memories of Thompson & Sons hung in the air like the scent of fresh coffee calling for familiarity. As the doors swung open to a flood of familiar faces that filled the shop, Jake felt the warmth of the community embrace them. His heart raced with a mix of hope and trepidation. Would their vision resonate? Adam took the lead, introducing their plans along with heartfelt anecdotes of their father. The community responded, enlivened by the brothers' intertwining stories and laughter that occasionally spilled forth, weaving a tapestry of nostalgia into the new tapestry of aspirations. Customers flooded in, not merely to browse, but to connect, bringing old friends back together, igniting stories that span generations. Light-hearted competitions filled the air, as children clamored to take part in workshops that tied them to the legacy of Thompson & Sons. With each passing moment, Jake discovered a solid confidence blooming within him. The culmination of years spent battling uncertainty transformed into a palpable recognition of competence. These were not the shackles of expectations. Instead, they were stepping stones toward achieving something greater. Amidst the excitement, a familiar face emerged from the crowd. Mrs. Thompson, the elderly neighbor who had encouraged him to reclaim the past. Her grateful expression resonated deeply. "Your father would have been proud." It was more than just praise. It was validation of the journey Jake had taken to confront uncertainty. As the evening unfolded, he found himself standing side by side with Adam, watching the ebb and flow of customers and community. Jake paused. The journey ahead was yet to be written, but so much had already been accomplished. In that moment, it felt like a merging point. He now saw how his individual transformation had reignited a once-faded legacy. Jake no longer bore the weight of expectations. He had forged his identity while honoring those who came before him. His heart swelled with justified pride, and with confidence, he shared a smile with Adam, standing tall, having conquered not just the business, but the very essence of self. It was a new beginning, one carved out of confrontation, growth, and the innate power of resilience. Do not hesitate to grasp your journey. Subscribe immediately for more exclusive emotional stories that can change lives. Leave a like now to keep this uplifting content floating to those who need it most. Your voice matters. Comment below with your thoughts and reactions. Share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second.